We're all human beings and we've all got the right to roam around this earth because we're human beings and this is our planet and we're well within our rights to roam around. But the thing is, things are looking to change. Now, if you've not heard about this, you need to pay attention, because if you've got a criminal record, things are about to change. What do I mean? Well, you're going to find out in this video what's bloody going on, starting right now.
Analyzing the news.
Hi friends, today we're talking about something that could change daily life for a lot of people in England and Wales. The government is looking at new sentencing rules, and these rules could mean that people who commit crimes, even if they don't go to bloody prison, could still face some serious limits on what they're allowed to do. This might sound a little bit confusing at first, so let me break it down in a simple way for you. At the moment, if someone commits a crime and the court decides not to send them to prison, they usually get what's called a community sentence. That might mean things like doing unpaid work or wearing an ankle tag or sticking to some sort of curfew. But under the new changes, the courts have a lot more power to restrict what people do in their daily lives. For example, someone convicted of a crime might be told they cannot go to pubs, concerts, or even football matches. Imagine this. Let's say someone steals from a shop. Normally they just get some sort of community service, but under these new rules, they could also say, you're bloody banned from the pubs for a year. This ban doesn't have to be linked to any actual crime that someone's committed. It could just be applied to almost any offences. That's the big shift. Right now, bans are usually very targeted. Like if someone causes violence at a football match, they can be banned from all stadiums. That makes sense, but the ban is directly linked to the crime. But the new plan would mean judges can hand out bans for any types of crimes in any situation. So if someone who, let's say, gets caught for shoplifting could suddenly find themselves not being allowed to enter any sort of concert or nightclub or pub or anything. The Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has explained why they want to enforce this. She said that if someone is serving their sentence in the community, they should still feel restrictions on their freedom. In other words, even if they're not in prison, they shouldn't feel like they're literally walking free. It's meant to make community sentences tougher, so they feel like they're really being punished for what crime that they've done, even if it's bloody shoplifting. Now let's think about what this might look like in real life. Imagine a person who gets caught for a minor drug possession. Instead of prison, they'll be given a community order. But under these new rules, the court said you can't leave your local area. You're now banned from going to gigs, and you must report to prison or your probation officer twice a bloody week. Now that's a much tougher grip on someone's day-to-day life and freedom. And there is some updates on this, so check this out. One of the main reasons these rules are being considered is because prisons are obviously overcrowded. There's not a bloody room in them. The government has even released prisoners early because of this. Simply isn't enough space for everyone. So the idea is to punish people in the community, but still keep the punishment strict enough that it feels serious. But this concerns. One big question is, how do you actually enforce all these bans? For example, if someone is told they can't go to a pub, who's going to check that? If the pub owner, is it their responsibility? Is it the police's responsibility to check? Wait a minute, you're banned, you mate, you can't come in here. And what happens if they sneak in? This is where it gets a little bit tricky, isn't it? Well, Michael Kill, who leads the Nighttime Industries Association, has raised this point significantly. And he said that while he understands the reason for changes, you can't just throw the responsibility on the pubs or the landlords or the club owners and the venues and the managers. It's not their responsibility, is it? Because these types of places are already struggling financially. So how can they implement extra security to decide, oh, you can't come in, can you? You've got that ban on you. Asking bar staff to police whether someone is banned or not. This is a bit of a burden, isn't it? That's not their job. They're there to bloody serve drinks, not bloody play Mr. PC Plod. So here is the scenario to the picture. A person banned from pubs tries to walk into a busy bar on a Friday night. The staff don't know them, and there's no easy way to check them. So unless there is some sort of national ID system or electronic tag that beeps when they go into these venues, it's really hard to enforce it. So what does that mean? Looks like the tags are coming on us. Mark of the beast. That's one of the main criticisms. The rules sound tough, but without clear systems in place, they might not work very smoothly. Another voice in the debate is a former judge, Wendy Joseph KC. She said there could be good results from this scheme, but she also warned it won't work unless it's done properly and it's properly funded. And who pays for that? You do. It's called taxpayer. There we go. Taxes are going up. See, if you expect pubs, police and probation officers to enforce these bans, you need money, planning and enough staff to make it happen. Also, she raised was another big question, and that is what happens when someone breaks the ban, which they will. What will happen if they go into a pub when they're not allowed? How will they get caught? And how quickly will they get caught? What's the whole process? And once they get caught, will they go back to court or even to prison? What does it look like? These are important questions because the rules don't mean much if they're not enforced. The Ministry of Justice has said these changes are a part of a wider reform. The goal is to make sure prisons are used mainly for the most dangerous offenders. For less serious crimes, the courts will have more options to punish people without filling up these prisons. And it's true that, isn't it? Should you go to prison for stealing compared to someone who's a psychopath who's killing people? Yes, they should go to prison. But someone who's stealing for food because they've got no money, should they go to prison? Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? But that's what they're doing, and that's why the prisons are full and there's no bloody room. You see, that way, there's always room for the worst criminals, and the justice system doesn't get overloaded. So that's their intention. They also want to use technology to help probation officers with things like tagging systems and digital tools to cut down paperwork. That would free up a lot of officers so they could focus on supervising the offenders rather than just filling in these bloody forms that they all have to do. And the government says it's investing £700 million into the probation by 2028. So they're very serious about this, with 1,300 new officers being trained this year. So it's already happening. This isn't hearsay. This is a fact. So let's go back and look at this as a whole. On one hand, these new rules could make the community sentences feel stronger. It could give victims, because that's what they are, a sense that these offenders are still being punished even if they're not behind bars. It also helps with the problem of crowded prisons. But on the other hand, there are also lots of risks. If these bans are too broad or too hard to enforce, it might just create something called confusion, and they don't want that. Venues and staff could feel unfairly pressured, and probation services, which are already stretched, might not have the resources to handle the extra work. So what do you think? Should someone who commits a crime be banned from things like pubs, gigs, or football matches, even travel, because that's what they're talking about? You won't be able to get on a bloody plane, even if that crime that they committed wasn't related to any of these activities. Do these rules sound like a fair way to punish people, or are they going a little bit too far? It's really interesting debate, isn't it? And it'll be worth watching closely as the government tries to bring in these reforms, which they're going to do. So either way, it's going to happen. Once it's announced on the news, you know it's going to happen. That's why I'm talking about it. But if you don't commit a crime, you should be all right. But then it's a lot more complicated than that. You could get caught up in crime. You could get caught up in something that you didn't want to do. You weren't consciously involved in it. You were almost subjected to it, and now you're paying the price. So you've got all this as well, haven't you? But either way, just keep your eye on this, because it's very interesting, because it's going to impact everybody, especially the criminal world. But eventually it'll affect the innocent as well. That's how it works. But until then, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for listening today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back in a couple of days with another big topic that's shaping the world around us, because it's always bloody changing, isn't it? But until then, take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.